Hey everybody! What's going on? It's Benny and Amanda. We are in Germania, Bavaria, Germania, as Germany. We're just being very cultured over here, you know. But we are a little behind once again because we've been hanging out with friends and having some house concerts, and so we're going to get caught up with most of it tonight. So we last left you in the little town of Hellesylt in Norway, and well, listen. The next 2 days after we left Allison were bucket lists for me. So poor Amanda here had to put up with me
really
making some
suffer.
crazy plans to go out of our way. Scandinavia was like an add-on for me. And when I thought that it was possible we were going to go to Denmark and Norway and Sweden, I was like, we've got to go see the fjords, and little did I know there's a lot of them, which makes sense. Norway, where was the map? We saw that illustrated map where it was like Sweden and Denmark and Finland, and they were all green and beautiful, and then it was like Norway, and they just drew mountains through the whole country. Yeah. Cartoon mountains. And it is not wrong. I mean, it is the northern and western parts of Norway, even the parts we flew over were just, there's still snow and it's September. Like, it was just really beautiful. And even I told Amanda, I was like, even the flight in would have been worth the price of the flight itself. It's just really beautiful to look out the window and see a landscape it doesn't exist anywhere else. I mean, maybe the Alps or something like that. I don't know, but not that big or that far. I don't know. It just seemed unparalleled, and with the ocean right there. And then as you came kind of out of the fjord section of the flight, looked like Hawaii. It looked like, oh no, that word. What? Archipelago.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, so it was one of my dreams to go to a fjord, and when I did a lot of research, I came up with Geiranger Geirangerfjord as the one that I wanted to see. It's a UNESCO Heritage Site, which means it's like extra protected and is viewed as like not a cradle of civilization, because that phrase means something different, but like a very important to humanity
and culturally significant.
Yeah, and the way they say it is important to telling the story of human history.
Yeah.
Which I think that says enough. Yeah. But it took a little work to get there. So they have, just like anywhere, we pay for convenience, right? So they have a sightseeing cruise that you can take at 5 a.m, and it takes almost all day or a half day to ride, and you kind of go in it but not all the way, and you come back, and it's expensive, and we've been here a long time, so I was like, let's find ways to not do that. And
I'm sure it's great, but
it's probably fine. Listen, there are people that don't like to take public transportation for a few hours. But I found out that through some blogs, and thank goodness for these folks that write these blogs and have kind of done it all before, that you can take public transportation, and then there's a ferry that is also like public transportation that will take you all the way through the fjord to this little town called Geiranger, which is maybe a couple thousand people, maybe. And it's at the end of this fjord, and like nestled amongst 3 separate kind of mountains. Yeah. And it's hard to put into words like what the whole thing was like, but we took a bus, and even when we got on the bus and told the guy, we're going to Hellesylt, and he was like, are you sure? It was like 2.5 hours, so it was like, I think when I looked, it was 63 stops on the bus. We got off in this even smaller town, which I think they said 250 people live in Hellesylt, which is where the ferry leads from. It has a beautiful waterfall. It's its own little spot nestled at the beginning, right outside the entrance to the Geirangerfjord, and they like park cruise ships and stuff there. But we came, and it was a Monday. Monday?
Yeah.
It was a Monday, and it was us.
The town was deserted, and we're also towards the end of tourist season.
Yeah. And it was what, 3 p.m? Between 2 and 3, and there was one store open, so we got some actually really great pizza, Arizona style pizza. It was I don't
It was
know.
a European interpretation of what Arizona
Of spicy
eats.
pizza. It was very good though, and that it was just us in that restaurant. Maybe one guy came in later.
Sort of wild to kind of imagine that town when it's entertaining tourists because
Yeah.
it's such a tiny town, and
Well,
you realize like what that type of commerce like means to an area like
Yeah.
that.
well, when we came back, there was a cruise ship parked there,
Yeah,
and the cruise ship has what, a few thousand people,
and it just
so it
unloaded people
automatically multiplied the size of that town by 10.
like a swarm
Just
of locusts.
yeah, and we like, I remember when we got on, we didn't even know if we were getting on the right ferry because we were two of maybe 5 people that got on the ferry to Geiranger. And when we came back, it was like we were the Queen was on the boat. There was just a crowd of a couple hundred people surrounding, like waiting to get on. It was
Night and day difference.
it was totally different. And a Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
why would that be much different? But hey, man, I think it was a lot of people just doing a day trip because it's about an hour to take the ferry each way. So if you did it there, had lunch, came back, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But of course, we were on to somewhere else. But it's just a glacier car. It's a glacier
just
carved.
anything.
Yeah, it's not just anything. Amanda tells me all the time. It's a glacier carved valley between like mountains on either side, and up until I think the latest was the 1960s. There were these farms, at least some of them, that are like on cliff faces, and they would send their kids to the school, but they had to like tether them to like handrails so that the kids wouldn't fall off the side. Like what?
It's just cliff dwelling lifestyle.
Yeah,
But,
and then even before that, there was one farm where they had to build their own zip line to go up and down to parts of the farm and to get the sheep, and unbelievable.
just very different.
And basically, they said they moved out to these like more outlandish areas because there was good land, and the cities were overrun, and like during that time in the late 1800s, that was just the place to be because it was.
It was a place where you could make a life for yourself,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of the story of why anybody
Goes anywhere.
moves to areas that seem inhospitable. But yeah, the cruise was really just unlike anything we've ever really seen. Like,
And I've seen a lot of stuff. So have you.
yeah,
Well, I'm just on the road more, but that doesn't mean not quality, just quantity.
even like the ride from Hellesylt to Geiranger was kind of overcast and moody, and there was it was kind of chilly out, which kind of added to the mood. But
and windy.
yeah, very very windy.
They had like little deck chairs on the top of the boat, and they were like, I was afraid they were going to go in the water. They were just like hitting people. It was a little wild.
But it, I think like when you're in the middle of it, it's just kind of you feel like an ant, like just like a teeny like an insect. It's just really something to behold, and especially like we've really enjoyed a lot of boat cruises on this trip, and I think we both agree that it's just some of the best way to see a lot of stuff all at once.
We both agree.
Yes, we both agree. But I think that perspective also, like when you're on a waterway and there's just this hulking like cliff face in front of you, and you're the one that sort of is like moving around it, it just makes it seem even that much more humongous.
Yeah, when the cliff face moves around you, get out of there. That's
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah.
No, moving, and the thing that's nice about the boat is it moves slow enough that you can take it in, and you don't have to do the walking, and the view changes for you.
Yeah.
And but my plan was we travel in the fjord in the evening, 3-4, I think it was about 4ish, and then to stay overnight in Geiranger, which there was like 2 hotels and then a bunch of camping and hostels and stuff, and then go back very early in the morning so we'd get kind of a sunrise, and hopefully like one of those 2 trips the weather would be really nice. And we stayed at the Hotel Union, which was funny because it was kind of like the town bar for many many years, and where like some of the stories and fables and myths from the town were told from that little bar, or about that little bar, which was kind of cool to stay in that historical part. It's very fancy now.
It was probably one of the nicest hotels we've stayed in, maybe the nicest.
Whoa.
Maybe.
All right.
wasn't it?
I agree. Well, it was the only one where we got free spa day.
Yeah.
They had an outdoor hot warm tub, and it overlooked the fjord, which was terrible. It was just absolutely the worst.
It was so nice.
So it was like it was pretty cold. It had snowed there the week before, but it was pretty cold, and nothing's better than like being in freezing or cold weather and getting in a hot tub.
It's like in the summertime when you make your room really cold with the fan on, you get to sleep with a blanket on top of you.
That's right.
But
But
especially
they don't know
with
about
just
that here
like
because they don't have AC here.
just like the hiking that we've done and all the walking and like lugging luggage, like it was just such a balm to be able to sit in a hot tub and kind of release some tension in your muscles and
Thebomb.com.
yeah.
Oh, you meant
The
LM.
balm.
BALM.
That's okay.
No, it was really
really,
nice.
really
and we
nice.
had a good dinner.
Yeah.
We had a really nice
We had like a room
dinner
service
was-
Caesar salad.
that's right. No, it was wonderful.
Yeah, really, really nice.
Yeah. And if we planned further, we would have done like some actual spa treatments because they had like a full service spa there, but they were like rented out for the next decade. So yeah, they have a waterfall everywhere, but it runs right through the middle of this little city. So I went out late at night in the rain to go take some waterfall videos. Amanda was already ready for bed. I made her hike uphill to this hotel. So that was
I had like a couple of switchbacks on the way up.
I thought it was
think
the hotel
done.
that's right next to the fjord, which is also called Hotel Geiranger. Not Hotel Union Geiranger. Very different. Totally different. So I messed up.
No, you're fine.
No, it got us some extra walking in, which
Yeah.
we've really been missing out
We
on.
gotta get our 20,000 steps in every day. We've been, as a side note, we've been averaging about like 12 to 13,000 steps a day. It's usually kind of.
You're
some
supposed
are
to
more
get
and
10,
some-
so
yeah.
we're just doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, we're just following doctor's orders.
Yeah, doctor phone.
Doctor.
Doctor Health app. So then we got up in the morning. We walked down that same switchback path, and I posted the photos, but we had like this the sunrise was just hitting the clouds right above all the little mountains on the fjord, and it was like a perfect morning. Not nearly as windy, and so because it's super windy, the waterfalls off the hills would get like the water would blow everywhere, but in the morning it was a little more calm, so like you could really see the body of a lot of the waterfalls, which made it, and the color from the sunrise. It's like the morning magic hour, which is much shorter, but it's very, very pretty. And it bummed me out, man. Did not want to leave there.
I had to pry him off of the ship a little bit more.
Just some places, I've written songs about it, but like some places they just are like, you have a moment there and you don't want to let it go. So you buy a magnet and put it on your fridge. But then we took that same freaking 2.5 bus hour ride back to Hellesylt. Then we hopped a flight because some of the traveling was done out of order. I just booked us a round trip ticket from Oslo to Hellesylt, and so we had to go Hellesylt back to Oslo, and then Oslo to Stockholm, which was our last Scandinavian city. So it was a long day.
Yeah, very
2
long
flights,
travel day.
a boat, and a long bus ride. But the bus ride also went through, like, I am so glad we did that because it
Yeah.
also went through these valleys where my favorite scene was there was like kids outside of this school, like playing soccer or whatever, and then up above them were glaciers, just like giant mountains with glaciers. And I was like, well, that must be nice. It must also be cold in the winter, but it was just kind of this thing that we, as Americans, like, we have maybe 2 spots in our country where we can go see glaciers for now. And we go way out of our way to go see these, well, okay, if we count Alaska, there's a lot,
Yeah.
but, contiguous, the lower 48. We go out of our way to see, and these kids are just like playing football, soccer, with some glaciers. Anyway, it's just a really beautiful bus ride as well, and we took just as many pictures from the bus as we did
I think so.
at the fjords. But anyway, long travel day to Stockholm, and Stockholm was an unexpected find. It was kind of like what's another major Scandinavian city we need to see? And it was going to be Groningen and Stockholm, and then I just decided we'd spend not Groningen. It's another Swedish city that now is escaping me. Anyway, it was going to be between this other Swedish city and Stockholm, and I just said, well, it's the capital. It's the cap. Everyone likes to be the capital of more than their capital of, so it's like the capital of Scandinavia, and so like it was just, I felt like it was somewhere I needed to see, and one I didn't know a lot about. I knew some about Oslo because of Vikings and some Norwegian history, because my whole life I've been told I was part Scandinavian, and then I just didn't know that much about Stockholm. So maybe we'll educate you in the next video. You might have to stick around and check out. Bye!